Students, let's get some questions for Aaron.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
I agree, it was really insightful, but we could tell you're a genuine guy, which is humbling, because Box is a is it billion-dollar company now, or?
There's different valuations
Yeah, all right,
out
something
there.
out there, whatever. But I'm also an avid reader, and I was really interested when you said that you're reading autobiographies. So do you have any that you personally recommend that are must-reads? Because I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, so probably less autobiographies, because most of these people don't have time to write anything. But in terms of biographies, is there an email list for everybody in here? Or maybe I'll just say a couple things. So first of all, I'm not going to just focus on biographies. I'll give you a bunch of book recommendations. Perfect. So if you're are you starting a company or anything?
No, but would love to.
Okay, great. Read the following sort of 5 books. Blue Ocean Strategy, Crossing the Chasm, Innovator's Dilemma, Innovator's Solution, this book called Positioning, and there's a bunch of, I mean, if you go to Amazon, there's great books on Microsoft, Amazon, IBM, Google. There's sort of founding stories of all those companies that are genuinely useful.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks so much for coming to USC today. I was wondering, there's a phrase you said that's been on posters and all kinds of water bottles, get shit done. And it's something that really...
It's on water bottles?
Yeah, all over the place. And it's something I really identify with.
Is it on fire retardant spray canisters?
I wish.
Okay.
I'd buy that too. Might call it like days that have to be productive, GSD days. I identify with what you say so much. And I'm wondering, were you always this kind of get shit done person your whole life? And if not, when was the moment you realized, I have to be that kind of person?
I think I think one of the, so it's interesting because and this is, so a lot of people will ask like, so you just emailed Mark Cuban and asked for funding, and when I hear that, I don't understand, I don't process the uniqueness, because and people generally think about that as somehow either crazy or risky, or what if he says no, or whatever, and generally the general pattern you have to have is that you just have to realize that, so the part that people don't ask is, how many other emails did you send that didn't get responded to? Or how many people didn't say yes to funding you? And that list is in the hundreds. And it just happened to be that Mark Cuban was crazy enough to say yes, but that everybody else didn't respond. And so the mentality you basically have to have is listen, there's only one way you're going to be successful, and that is if you have enough things kind of click, whether that's your product, the people you hire, the funders that you get. And the only way to do that is if you're just in constant, relentless execution mode. And there's no, I mean, the only downside is that it takes a lot of time and it's very tiring. There's no risk associated with that. There's nothing that is, there's no stigma associated with that. You just have to do it if you're going to be successful. And so then the only thing is, once you understand that you're going to have to be always on, then the only other thing is like, you have to be always on, but you also want to be constantly calibrating and prioritizing, so you're doing the very best and sort of smartest things with your time. But you should sort of never have to worry about, what if this person says no, or what if they don't respond to my email? Like this other thing, like unfortunately, I just don't have time to respond to a lot of emails that I get, just because there's a lot of different kind of things going on. And but there's no harm in emailing anybody, because it's not like anybody's like, I'm going to remember that person emailed me, and I'm going to think that they were an idiot. Like, that's not how it works. Just email everybody, because some people will be crazy enough to respond, and then that will don't email me though. No, I'm kidding. You can email me. But basically, you just there's this great line called ROL, and it's I think I don't know if Jim Collins created it or if he found it and then he kept talking about it. It's called return on luck. So the sort of best entrepreneurs, the best successes, isn't that they were more lucky or less lucky. I mean, there's a lot of circumstantial things and environmental things, but sort of those elements aside, the best successes were not that somebody got lucky, it's that they got lucky and they exploited that luck. And so, we're all lucky at sort of various moments in our life, and the ability to sort of take advantage of that and then make sure to keep optimizing around that tends to be the differences between outcomes in entrepreneurship. And so that ability to say, okay, an opportunity just landed in my lap. how do I not only take advantage of this opportunity, but what are the direct and indirect consequences of this opportunity that I can continue to maximize? And that you just have to constantly doing that. And it's just, you're constantly looping through, how do I maximize the return on this, this unique situation I found myself in? And so for us, we got lucky that the technology factors related to our industry all sort of converged in the direction of our architecture. That was luck. What wasn't luck, what was kind of hard work on a lot of people's part, was taking advantage of that and making sure we exploited it to its fullest extent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Aaron. Kevin from Cupertino. First off, nice socks. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, we were just talking about your schedule, Monday, 9 to 11 p.m., not responding to some emails. How do you manage to stay on top of your tweets? And, I noticed in your Twitter handle, the cover picture had two particular individuals. Were those two role models you looked up to while growing up? Or if not, who were your role models?
Yeah, I mean, so the thing you're referring to is a young Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and basically, they were absolutely role models on some dimensions. It's hard to say. I mean, when we hear the word role model, we sort of think like universally they are a role model, and I don't think that's the case of any individual. It's more that you learn different things from different individuals, and you connect the sort of best attributes that you want to learn from those individuals. And so there's negative qualities, positive qualities about both of those guys, obviously, and so definitely learned a tremendous amount from both those individuals. As it relates to tweeting, it probably takes less time than it seems. Maybe it's generally I guess he missed the fact that there were 9 hours of tweeting blocked out on my calendar. Those were all those were just individual chunks of tweets on my calendar. No, I mean it's a few minutes a day. Thank you.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks for coming out tonight. I actually have a question about your company.
Sure.
I was wondering, how does Box fit into the current ERP suite of today, like the different types of software available, and how do you prepare yourself for the future in this industry, especially considering that the suite as a whole is sort of fragmenting and there are becoming more options and more people are providing different ways at a much more cheap and efficient solution options for different companies?
Yeah, so this is that's totally a trend happening right now, and the reason is that you can start to plug and play software together in a way that you couldn't previously. So it used to be you had to buy all of your technology from a couple vendors because it had like Oracle or Microsoft or IBM, because that was the only way to get it all to work. And actually, I would say that the fragmentation that is happening and the sort of interoperability between technology is a direct driver of our business right now. Because in a world where you just had an ERP suite and a sort of productivity suite, that would be a world that would favor incumbents that would just sell you that full stack. And so the world that we're in now is actually one where you can take Box, you can take Salesforce, you can take Zendesk, you can take parts of Oracle, and you can make all of these technologies work together in a very, very unique and sort of compelling way. And so that is actually an enabler of our business right now. It's an enabler of the success of any one of these individual components and companies. So we actually hope this continues to be the trend, and in fact, we would like it to be even more of a trend than it is today. We would rather that a few $100 billion are actually divvied up between 100 companies as opposed to 15. Because if there's 100, then you're going to really start to make decisions at each layer of your technology stack. And we're very confident that our layer is something where we can win, and then we'll expand out from there over time.
Thank you.
Hi, Aaron. First of all, congrats on winning the award tonight.
Cool, thank you.
I just wanted to ask, so I know you mentioned that you were here for a couple of years, and we heard about some of the things that you kind of didn't take away from the classes and apply to your company. So is there anything that you did take away from the classes here? And what do you think about higher education in general? Because I'm an avid reader myself, and I've been reading Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1, and he's a big contrarian with higher education. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Keep in mind, Peter Thiel's crazy. So, so just make sure that you keep that in mind. But crazy in the right way for the technology industry, which means that he spots things like Facebook and then makes billions of dollars from that. So I think that, sorry, was the question what I learned or what I didn't learn?
What you learned and applied to your company or what
Oh,
you
I
took
mean,
away.
I think that I mean, literally, the thing that I would take, I don't know what the ages of it or what year everybody is or whatever. The thing I would take advantage of at USC is the fact that there's a unique combination of so many different disciplines in one school, and that's not true. I mean, a lot of schools have lots of disciplines. Very few schools have sort of high kind of caliber education in each of those disciplines. And so when I was here, I did film classes and television classes in Annenberg and then obviously business school classes. And then unfortunately they have a lot of kind of core credits that you have to take as well. So basically, to be able to take advantage of all those unique experiences, by definition led to us moving into a lot of these, a lot of the markets that now we've sort of been able to put together a product for. I think there's a lot of, the challenge I dropped out 2.5 years in. So there's a lot I didn't learn that sort of is at the sort of as you, once I literally decided my major and then we dropped out the next semester. So unfortunately, the depth of the curriculum, that I would have experienced, I didn't fully experience. But a lot of the sort of kind of multidiscipline, more creative combination of things, I certainly pulled from USC. In terms of higher education, I think the problem is that, so Peter Thiel is very particular around the cost of higher education, and I fundamentally believe that is a huge problem because what we've devised a system that unfortunately creates opportunity for people that either have money or can decide to get money or are in an opportunity or find themselves in an opportunity where they could excel in such a way that was visible, where they would then get some scholarship or whatever. And it sort of unfortunately doesn't make available great education to a lot of underprivileged ecosystems and communities, and I think that's a huge problem. I don't know how to solve that. I don't think Peter Thiel knows how to solve that, but it's just like generically a big problem. I think there's a lot of things that we could do for being able to enrich education throughout your life, as well as bringing in different domains that might not be available because of your physical proximity, but might be available because of the internet. This notion that there likely is some professor at some other university that is world class on one particular topic. There's no reason that we shouldn't pipe that into USC and then allow students from anywhere to be able to have access to that content and have that content help them lead to a different credits or whatever. Like there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to mix and match different kind of content because this notion that somehow just because of the location that you went to should limit the content and curriculum you have access to is obviously a very strange idea in the world of the internet and where we can get information from anywhere. So, these are all the problem statements. I have no idea the solutions to these things. This is, it's very hard, I'd imagine, to be a dean. I would not want that job just because of how complicated it is. And so these are things that hopefully USC is solving.
Thank you.
Hi, Aaron. I just want to say thank you for your incredible generosity and just letting us into kind of how you think and your thought process. I was so excited to hear that you were coming and was blown away that you sent a cold email to Mark Cuban. And I tried to look everywhere for this cold email, for the copy of this cold email. So could you tell us what you wrote in that email, one? And also, if you don't mind sharing, what did you actually spend your money on? Thank you.
Great parties. So launch parties for after the launch party, it was crazy. So I don't even remember what the email said. I don't have it. We changed our email system in like 2008, and I'm not a particularly sentimental person, so I forgot to save the email. It would have been helpful for situations like this, where other people maybe are more sentimental. I'd imagine my English was pretty bad in it anyway, so I wouldn't want to show it. At that age, I probably looked at some of these. I don't like my writing from this age, so missed an apostrophe here, a period there, whatever. So So basically, it was something along the lines of, Dear Mr. Cuban, or Dear Marky Mark, I don't know what I did. We have a startup called Box.net. We would love to introduce you to it. It does online file storage. You know, we're the best company on the planet. I don't know if you've seen this space at all, but I would love to connect or talk to you about it if you ever have a minute. I'm making shit up right now, but like it's roughly like this. It feels like I would have said something like that. And then I probably said, Dear please sir, send money to this address. And then, you know, a few email exchanges later, a couple phone calls later, some due diligence later, he ended up investing in the company. Was that your question?
Oh, there was actually
Okay.
one more question,
Oh,
if
good.
I may. I was just wondering, what did you actually spend the money on? Like, what did you actually want to
Okay,
spend
you wanted the
money
real
on?
answer. So, you know, the first and foremost, you can't pay yourself anything as a startup. I think we had $750 a month stipends after we dropped out. And so I was very fortunate to have an uncle that let us live and work for free out of Berkeley in a garage. And so we didn't have any rent expense. We didn't have to pay for that. So we paid ourselves like $750 for food, the occasional sort of matinee movie, and then that was basically it. Like you're not going to save money at this period of your life. So it was servers, it was it was contractors for various parts of our technology stack. It was online marketing. It was, you know, we would do, you know, a couple online marketing campaigns. You know, occasionally you might have to get like a designer to go do something that you couldn't produce yourself. That's you know, basically $1,000 here, $1,000 there, and then just the cost of computing, and that was the most, you know, significant expense that we had at the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, so yeah, thanks for coming out, obviously. So I mean, I've got my startup going, and actually one of my co-founders interned at Box this summer.
Who is that?
Connor Fromnecht. Remember him? I don't know. Anyways.
Wait, was he on the security team?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, from MIT. Sweet. Anyways. Yeah,
1,100 employees.
One of the issues.
Wait, how are you starting a company with him? Is he down here?
No, he's
at MIT, right?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
there's like 4 of us. working
Distributed,
remotely.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But we're negotiating our like seed round of funding right now, and I wanted to ask you like what was your like relationship with Mark Cuban as like an investor? I mean, like investor, like was he like involved a lot? Did you?
Wait,
like,
I'm sorry. Did I miss a beat? Are you getting funding from Mark Cuban?
What?
Are you getting
No.
funding from Mark?
We have a couple of investors, and like
Oh.
we're trying to find the trade-off between someone who's going to just give us money and kind of let us run with it versus someone who would maybe like have something to offer specifically in the music entertainment space, which is what we're working in, but like maybe have to give him a little bit more. So I mean, how does that like dynamic kind of work? Like how involved they are? How much do you really think you needed him?
Well, Mark is. I would say Mark aside. I would just say that at the stage you're at, certainly to the extent that you can get a strategic investor that gives you early customer access, early relationships, all of those things I would highly prioritize. One thing I would prioritize though is probably doing, if you're gonna try and get strategic investors or angel investors, I would go after folks that are gonna be specific to your product and kind of customer base, as opposed to people that would just generally be helpful at advising you, because I think there's ways to work with advisors that can be separate from your investors. So you can give advisory shares, you can just work with mentors, and you can keep that separate from the investor side, where at this stage you'd probably want to amass as much of a sort of strategic investor base as you can. I don't know what your startup is, but if there are relationships involved, then that might be, you know, one way that you would want to get your investors.
Thanks.
Cool, thanks.
Hi, Aaron. Thank you so much for coming down. We really appreciate it in the Trojan family. So my question is, I was fortunate enough to come and visit Box during the summer. I really admired the vibrant atmosphere of your headquarters, and you had a beautiful slide, and I loved the gong as well. But I was more interested in what role do you see Box playing in regarding issues of national security and the data storage of potentially sort of, data that could cause some sort of issues later on, and how do you work with the government over this?
Maybe if you could clarify, because it got very cryptic at the end.
Yeah.
Of that.
So basically,
what kind of data would cause issues later on?
Well, no. So how do you work with the government regarding issues that data storage from companies that may have may put national security at risk? Yeah.
Do you know of these companies?
Well, no. I mean, when I visited Box, we
had some of those companies there.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I was in a class environment, and one of the questions that was asked was, how do you get around the government coming to ask you to remove certain pieces of data and transfer them over to their hands so they can see them. How do you work?
No, I've made this way too difficult. Sorry, I apologize. I know exactly what you're asking. So basically, this whole Edward Snowden NSA thing about 1.5 years ago blew up. That really related primarily to consumer internet services. The issue of national security was around how potential terrorists would use things like Facebook or Gmail or Skype to communicate their plans. And then the NSA basically wanted the ability to intercept that communication and then potentially subpoena and take over certain kind of data or information around what was going on. So that was the whole news cycle that blew up, and subsequently that's what we've seen about our cell phone providers, these device makers, et cetera. It didn't really relate to the enterprise space because we haven't yet seen B2B platforms be used for terrorist strategizing. I wouldn't put it past them, but so far they've not chosen enterprise-grade storage for that specific initiative. So we were a bit separate from that whole issue. We have a very, very high bar of how we work with the government, and so this wasn't a real issue that we ran into. So it's a theoretical issue. It wasn't something that actually happened in practice with us. And then it's also something that we are investing in technology and policies that will help certain customers that want extra levels of protection to have that kind of protection, whether it's cryptographic or from a legal standpoint, the ability to protect their information. But again, it's more of a theoretical issue as opposed to one that is something that a Salesforce.com or a Box would run into.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have time for 1 or 2 more questions because there's 3 of you. Make them pretty quick.
Okay. Hey, thank you for coming. Did the buying Box.com pay off from Box.net? Is
Totally.
it because 10 years ago, or
Wait, what?
would you still do it if it was right now?
Oh, well, so we didn't get .com until about 5 years ago. And .com was $1 million. So I don't tweet that. I don't think that was supposed to be public information. Please, if you did tweet that, delete the tweet, please. So basically, absolutely, I do that all day long. I mean, you don't want your .com to be owned by somebody who could turn it into a porn website or something. And then Box.net is just not that awesome of a brand. So we like calling it Box and making it simpler. And so you can only do that if you have Box.com.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Aaron, one of my mentors used to talk about, for all of us, at some point we die, and when we get buried, there's our gravestone. That dash represents our life.
Very serious mentor.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of.
Is a mentor like a rabbi or something? What?
There's a purpose to this.
Okay.
So he used to talk about that dash. The dash represents our life, and when you pass away one day and people remember you, what do you want your dash to represent in 1 to 2 sentences?
Yes. Wait, sorry. What's the question? Okay. Okay. Did you say your mentor passed away?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Glad I caught you off guard, though. So that dash, what do you want that dash, in 1 to 2 sentences, what do you want that to represent about you?
And is this my tombstone?
Yeah, well, your life, that dash is, I guess, a representation of your life. What do you want your representation of your life to
And is it like 140 characters, or what's my limit here?
You can use a little bit more. We can do 2 sentences, maybe 3 if Dave has time for 3
Was your
sentences.
mentor Jack Dorsey? Oh, that's super tough. Can we swap questions and I'll try and think of the answer?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because I don't want to give you a stupid answer because it sounds very serious, and I'd hate to say the wrong thing, and then I'm like, fuck that. I don't want that to be what you're gonna put on my tombstone, and hold me to that.
So unfortunately, I don't have a question that's deep, but so I know, as you mentioned previously, your days are very, very busy, and I can imagine at Box you have a million things that come across your desk that you must focus on. And so I'm curious to see, how do you keep track of all those tasks? Do you have a to-do list? Do you put it in your calendar? How do you keep track of everything?
Yeah, so a couple things. Basically, I have paper, some paper, and then I write things down on the paper. And then we have this product called Box Notes. I highly recommend you use it. It's totally free, so it works great for your college budget. And it's an online note-taking, real-time user, multi-user thing. And that has checklists now, totally crazy. And so I just keep track of all my tasks on that, on paper. And then my calendar kind of keeps me up to date with stuff. And so you're just trying to always sort of be triaging the different things thrown at you. And then just keeping track of your, the best practice generally, and I don't always keep up with the discipline on this, the best practice generally is sort of what are the things that you just need to go tackle? What are the things that you can put below the line? What are your long-term things that you need to make sure you're making progress on? So it's sort of near-term, long-term, and then the sort of you need to get out of the way list. That's generally what I've heard to be most effective. I'm somewhere within 80% of doing that. But I think better organization, self-improvement on that is something we're all kind of fighting for.
Thank you.
Fuck.
All right. If you don't have an answer, don't.
Okay.
Why don't you give?
It's more of a question of what do you want to be remembered
Oh,
for in one
right.
to two sentences.
I know, but like I just feel like I'm 29, like I got time. I'm hoping they don't even bury people by the time that I die. Like it's not, like ideally we got 60 years left. So I'm sure that something will have happened in the next 60 years that I will rather have been remembered for than anything that I'd be able to answer now. Is that okay?
That's actually
I
pretty good answer.
apologize.
That's okay.
Thank you. Okay.
So,
How about I want to be remembered for the USC Entrepreneurship Award. So if you could just make sure that is on the tomb, that'd be good.
whoever's here from CNN and LA Times, please print that.
Okay.
That is awesome. How about some closing words? We've got a lot of people here who are either thinking about or in the process of launching businesses. Just some closing words to advice for young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just so I have a sense of the group. Who's still in school? Okay, good. All right, good. Stay in school. Very good. I would just say, so I'm going to focus on just that stage because that's sort of how we started Box. So it's still applicable to everybody else, but especially applicable if you're in school because it actually directly relates to being in school. So I would say take advantage of your time right now. And what I mean by that is being able to have, let's say, 14, 16, 18 hours a day that you control your schedule for. This is like, you're not going to get this ever again. You're going to be busy. There's going to be meetings. There's going to be people. There's going to be, you're going to have a job. There's all these things being thrown at you. But right now, and you might have jobs already, but right now you do have a time where you can explore different spaces, different ideas, different categories of entrepreneurship, and I would take advantage of that. I think the biggest kind of challenges is sort of thinking that you have to go through some kind of formatted process in your time at college, but really it's a great canvas. It's a 4-year canvas, for some longer than 4 years. It's a canvas where you can sort of build whatever you want. You can create whatever you want. You can start things up as long as they're legal. And I would take advantage of that. And I think when I look back 10 years ago, probably not enough people were taking advantage of that in the sort of peers that I saw. And I think that was there's just opportunity. I mean, perfect example. Sean, the CEO of Tinder, he was always starting things. So we got to know each other in our freshman and sophomore year because we were sort of always, running into each other. We never had really brainstormed stuff, but I would always see him starting things. And so, being able to take advantage of this time is it's just a unique moment where you can be, where you have more control of your life, and you can go build things that you're going to be passionate about, and you can literally, I launched a dozen things that failed miserably before Box at USC. So it's not like if you haven't created your startup that works like your first time, your second time, your fifth time, that means anything. It just means you haven't yet gotten that opportunity to do the return on luck. So I would just focus on that and hopefully do something that you're really passionate about.
That's great.
Cool.
That's great.